Alright, this video is my response to the Army's Rednecks video about is it time to defend the Republic? Well, yes, it is. Is it time to pick up a gun? No. But the time to defend our Republic has long since passed. The reason that Obama is passing the laws that he is, the reason that Bush passed the laws that he did, this draconian surveillance, counterterrorism initiatives that they're applying. Well, here's the thing about it. They've always been there. They're just coming up with another name, another thing to justify it under. Some other type of red tape. You get rid of something Obama did, then something Bush did before him is already there to allow them to do the same thing. They just have to put a little bit more effort into lying and concealing things. It just gives them multiple layers of jurisdiction to hide under. Uh, I have a bit of personal experience with this. Uh, I'm not going to get into that right now, but I am going to say this. I'm working as best I can to clear the issues of having been falsely arrested, falsely accused, having my name dragged through the mud, and a variety of other things which have arrested to harassment from informants and relatives of local police officers. And of course, when I tried to go to the FBI to get something done, I was threatened by the FBI agent. The current administration's and even Bush's counterterrorism program for the FBI is reminiscent of the old FBI counterintelligence program that went on during the 60s and 70s. The the problem is that local governments are so corrupt and screwed up. It doesn't matter how corrupt and screwed up the government in Washington is. You have to deal with locally what's in your area. So, to my response, yeah, now is the time to defend the Republic. Now is the time for people to go out here and to fix the system. Picking up guns and shooting, no. We haven't reached that point just yet. But we're awfully damn close. My point is this. In my case, I'm not going to pick up a gun and shoot anyone. I have no desire to shoot anyone, blow up any buildings, or anything like that. Uh, However, what I'm doing is this. I'm gathering intelligence. I'm catching my corrupt officials being corrupt. I'm giving them an opportunity to do their jobs and to do the right thing and to fulfill their oath, the same oath I took when I enlisted in the Army, uh, and when I enlisted in the Marines, as a matter of fact, to uphold and defend the Constitution and the ideas of the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. However, those ideas, those people not adhering to, not respecting that code, there, who don't have that personal honor, that uh, concept of duty that I did, that a lot of guys in the military I was around did, that I know there's a lot of people in the police force who do. Uh, and specifically, I'm talking about soldiers, police officers, lawyers, hell, even the janitor in the courthouse who overhears things and knows there's a lot of screwed up shit going on. All of you people are in a position that if you really want to change something, you really want to do something, you can start recording conversations on your cell phones. And flipping it over, converting it to format so you can release this stuff to the media so that you can show the world how corrupt the system is and give this a chance to fix it within the system. Otherwise, the whole concept of people wanting to step up and get a gun and go fight. Here's the problem. That's the easy solution. That's the glorified solution. You have all these people who've never been to war, thinking war is some glorious thing because they're going to prove how brave and courageous and everything else they are. The problem is, look, I don't want to live in a world where I have to prove how brave and courageous I am. I'd rather sit back and say, yeah, I'm brave, I'm a badass, yeah, and it just all be talk because I really don't want to have to prove it. I don't want to have to put my life in danger. I've been there, I've done that. I don't want to have to do it again. I didn't expect to get out of the Army to be caught up in the amount of bullshit I am because of a corrupt legal system and because of corrupt police officers, judges, magistrates, public defenders, prosecutors. I mean, but the only thing I can do is get the evidence and try to fix it within the system, go through every means I can within the system of having it fixed. And then when that doesn't work, just say, here you go. Here, put it out there for everyone to see, the entire world. Here you go. Here's all the evidence you need. Uh, all that being placed in retrospect, understand that what I'm saying is that the time to defend the Republic is now. The time to pick up a gun and start shooting people, I agree with you, hasn't came yet. But all these draconian laws are passing. They can do the same thing through another means. This just cuts down on the amount of red tape they need to falsify evidence against you. In my personal experience, and this is even true with the FBI's counterterrorism program, if you look at all these people who are getting these guys who are usually not very well educated, uh, not exactly all that smart, at least not street smart, uh, they're getting all these guys who want to stand up and do something and take action, but they have no means to do so. So the government comes in, they offer them a means to get up and take action, to go do something by setting up these fake terrorist stings, and they give these guys the training, the plan, and everything else they need. The problem is when these guys get out of jail after being connected to and around criminals and everything else, and they'll network through the criminal system and everything else, they're going to come out and they're going to be a whole new breed of criminal. Far worse than anything that we're used to dealing with, because they've already been taught how to make the bombs and the military tactics and everything else through these informants. And a lot of them will end up working as informants themselves. The Which causes a whole nother amount of problems for the people around you, for the people who are worried about dealing with situations, for the people who are trying to take care of their family and not be victimized by criminals and everything else. The other thing to it is what they're doing is they're trying to create the idea that anyone who is in a position to lead people to resist the government or to fight back is therefore going to be a government sting to try to take you and cart you off to jail under the ideas of calling you a terrorist. So anyone who says this is obviously, some kind of government informant. So even the people who want to step up and do something won't step up and do something for fear that they're going to go to prison if they do, that this is all just a setup and a trap. Uh, I mean, it's done. When it comes to police informants, from my experience of being set up and everything, police informants will tell you and point out other police informants to you just to win your trust so that you'll believe them so that they can entrap you or set you up or whatever else. And, I mean, that's often usually how it works. And the the situation as it is now, in my personal experience, and if it's going on here, it's going on everywhere else, is that the system works on trying to have it departmentalized. It's a state police issue or a deputy sheriff's issue or a city police issue. But the reality of the matter is, it's all of these organizations structured under a single organization that goes back to federal influence through the FBI, the counterterrorism, counterintelligence program the FBI runs. And these same cops use the same little group of snitches and informers to go out and commit crimes or to set up for the majority of crimes committed just so that they can go out and arrest people and entrap people. If you're sitting there starving, you have no way of feeding your kids, and some guy says, "Hey, I'll have you sell drugs for me for, make you a little bit of money to save your kids." It might not be the most glamorous thing. It might not be the greatest thing in the world, but let's bear in mind during the Depression, a lot of people turned to bootlegging, to making moonshine as a means of survival. Uh, my grandpa, on my dad's side, was a moonshiner. His grandpa or I'm sorry, his dad was a moonshiner. My great grandfather and my grandfather were both moonshiners. Uh, to them, it wasn't a matter of breaking the law and being a gangster or anything like that. To them, it was a matter of survival. Sure, they had to skirt the law, they had to violate the law, but it gave them a chance to make a better life for themselves, or for their children at least, so that their children wouldn't have to violate the law to get in that position. And so when you're sitting there having a choice between going out here and, uh, letting your kids starve or selling drugs, you're going to, of course, sell drugs because that's the responsible thing to do. That's taking care of your children. That's sacrificing your freedom and uh, putting yourself in a bad spot to where you can go to jail and you can lose everything, but you can put food on your kids' table. Maybe you can help take care of them. Maybe they won't have to go sell drugs. You can help them to live a better life so they won't have to go sell drugs or have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm talking a lot about ideology here, so forgive me, I'm digressing. But the fact of the matter is, at the same time, it's the cops going out acting through these informants that are getting people to sell drugs, getting them access to the drugs. Same way they're giving them access to bomb making materials and plans and means of building bombs and all this other stuff. Giving them training in in gunfighting and everything else, so that these criminals will have this. Now, when they get in actual prison, they'll be networking with other criminals. There's prison-based martial arts. Certain gangs, certain organizations within prison have what they call prison-based martial arts, which are basically paramilitary programs to indoctrinate other inmates into this criminal organization. But each time it reveals a little bit of something more that makes them more efficient as a soldier for that gang or that organization. So when these guys come in with this knowledge of how to do bombs and a few basic tactics, that's going to be fed into that little pool of knowledge that's going to be used for these guys to network and to move up through criminal organizations. And some of these people will become informants, and they will become informants within these criminal organizations. But in some cases, they're not. They're going to just take off and run with it. So, you know, right now, the best way to defend the Republic, in my opinion, isn't to pick up a gun and start fighting, uh, to start shooting anything else, because that just feeds into this bullshit terrorist lie that we're told about, the evil terrorists out there coming to get us. Uh, and the best thing we can do is start showing where our cops are corrupt, showing where the prosecutor's office is accepting statements from cops that are based on fraudulent information, where informants are setting people up, uh, where the public defender's office and a lot of the judges who work to defend criminals in criminal law, or lawyers, I mean, to defend people in criminal law, are all falsifying evidence. At the same time, and are accepting this falsified evidence. When you start looking this stuff up, when you start looking at the law, certain doctrines, like the fact of exculpatory evidence, evidence which can prove your innocence. If the prosecutor's office finds it, they have to tell you. If the police find it, they have to tell the prosecutor's office. They have to give this to your attorney. A lot of times this doesn't happen. Uh, And so, I'm not saying for people to put themselves out there. There's a lot of people out there watching this video that probably do engage in certain criminal activities as a means of getting by. In the cases of those people who do, start watching these little informants and people around you. You can always, go check their criminal records because that's public access information. You can go to the courthouse or the magistrate office and find it at any point in time, and you can start looking into this. And a lot of people you're going to have from out of state. I should have warned you anyways, and everyone else out here, there's an FBI program that takes informants from one state and brings them into another state, so that you can't find them in the system as being an informant or having pled out the cases and informed on people, which would be a matter of public court record if they had done so as part of a plea agreement. Uh, so, you can't really trust people out of state. You have to trust the out-of-staters a little bit less. And the people in the state that you know of as informants, well, you don't trust them at all. My point is, under all these different little situations, if you want to stand up and defend the Republic, you're going to start showing where people are abusing power now. And if they're abusing power and authority and position in society now, what happens when these other more draconian laws get passed? What happens when indefinite detention and all this other stuff get passed? Well, it just gives them less red tape to chew through, less evidence to fabricate against you, to have you locked up in jail, thrown in jail, out of the way, and you're just going to be stuck there with no other recourse until it gets to the point that people are going to start picking up guns and shooting and fighting back, like you addressed. And what's going to happen is when they do, well, they're terrorists. That proves the terrorist thing. But if you go out here and you start proving where these the people in power, even on a local level, are criminals themselves. The people over top of them within the state government are covering for them, uh, and the people over top of that in the federal government are covering for them. And you just keep moving up the food chain. It'll take time, but you can start proving where the system is already broken. So it gives them a choice. They can either fall back on these draconian laws that they're trying to pass to assume power, to take power, to claim absolute authority, or they can start adhering to the laws that they themselves are responsible to be held to. In either case, if they violate the law under the idea that, well, they have the authority, they can do what they want, they've just proven that they don't have the authority, that the people in the uniform don't respect the uniform. They're not acting as agents of the law. They're acting as, jackbooted thugs running out here using the threat of force and the threat of incarceration to claim power. The same thing falls into judges, magistrates, politicians, lawyers, all of those in that little group of government that are responsible for adhering to the law because they're trying to place themselves above the law. Bush did it. Obama's doing it. Uh, Politicians before them have done it. Before we get to the point that people start picking up guns and shooting and everything else, you need to start realizing that and everybody out there needs to start realizing that if the system is broke, you need to start showing where the system is broke and how it is broken. Everybody needs to pick up a camera or recording things on their cell phone cameras as opposed to simply uh, uh, dealing with the picking up a gun and going out and shooting people. We don't need guns and bombs. We need thinking individuals who can act as leaders. We need, for lack of a better term, espionage agents, spies to go out here and gather information, to gather that intelligence to show where the system is broke. And granted, the reality of the matter is change doesn't happen without some level of militant force there to enforce it. Part of what made Martin Luther King Jr. so successful in his civil rights movement was that he was the non-aggressor. That he would go out and protest or whatever. They would lock him up, sick dogs on him, hit him with the water hoses, beat him and the protesters, whatever. They wouldn't fight back. That justified everything every other group out there did, including militant groups like the Black Panthers and everything else, who wanted to pick up guns and go shoot, corrupt cops and judges and politicians and stuff, uh, because now the people who are simply disagreeing with what the status quo is, who aren't physically fighting back, who are allowing themselves to be beaten, are justifying the people who aren't going to stand in line and be beaten. They're not going to stand in line and have dogs sicked on them. They're going to fight back. We basically need to establish that ground of people standing to and showing this corruption before we could ever imagine to pick up guns and fight back. But the time to defend the republic is now, if even if not, by use of force or arms. We should do so through uh, knowledge, through intelligence. But either way, I do believe the time to step up and defend the republic is now.